The pitch. Swing and a ball drilled. Right field. Freeling back. At the wall. Out of here. It's out of here. Alonso, an opposite field home run. And the Mets had the lead. Pete Alonso, the polar bear, takes Devin Williams deep. And here in the ninth, the comeback kids have done it again.
Welcome to episode 2 of 95 Connected. We had so much fun that we decided to come back, and we are having our second episode. And today we have changed our schedule. We were planning to make this a Ravens recap episode mostly, but some things have happened. Some things have happened in baseball. So with the Orioles. So we're changing gears, and this is going to be a very Orioles-heavy episode. So first things first, Josh, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Okay, we're 2 for 2 on loud and clear.
Hell yeah.
So, for those who did not skip the intro, if you haven't heard the news, you may now know the news that Mr. Pete Alonso, formerly of the New York Mets, better known as Polar Bear, which let me be honest here. Can I be honest with you for a brief moment?
Go off, King.
I did.
What?
I learned that today.
He's been in the home run derby for like 20 years.
I don't watch the home run derby.
Okay, you could at least watch the highlights.
I don't watch the highlights of the home run derby anymore. So I just learned that his nickname is the Polar Bear.
It's also been all over Twitter. There's literally a million different places you could look to see that his nickname is Polar Bear Pete.
I don't know what else to say.
I'm not mad at you.
Yeah,
I'm just really disappointed.
It is what it is. But guess what? The Polar Bear is now a Baltimore Oriole. And when you think about it, think about what level of free agent signing this is we'll go to recent Orioles history, because I would consider myself somewhat of an Orioles history savant. But if I say something about the 60s or 70s, somebody's going to come in here, well, you forgot about Tricky McGee, who hit 270 in the playoffs one year. I don't know about Tricky McGee. So I think, in my thoughts of the last, we'll call it 30 years, we'll start in the 90s. I can only think of 2 Orioles signings that could even possibly compare to this. One would be Roberto Alomar in the 90s, and the other would be Miguel Tejada in 2004. Can you think of anything else that even approached this level for the Orioles?
Okay, and we're just doing by signing?
Just a free agent signing, no trades, just they ponied up money.
First off, the fact that you left out Albert Bell, which was the most exciting baseball player on the face of the earth. And I still support the fact that he got hit for his 4th home run and didn't want to. No, it was a walk. It was a walk. And he got hit by a pitch. Yeah. I still support that. That's my king.
So you think Albert Bell, signing Albert Bell is this level?
I mean, and I know it's not a big. First of all, Miguel Tejada obviously was. I mean, just the fact that we got. I don't even know if we got anything for that trade, but he was elite for a very long time with the Orioles, and Melvin Mora became one of the greatest third basemen of all time, and I'll die on that hill that he's number 3 greatest third baseman in Orioles history. But for the impact, I loved when the Orioles signed Wei-Yin Chen, and I think it was like 2011 or 2012. It wasn't a big signing, but the impact that he made on the team during his 3 years with the Orioles, I mean, he solidified the pitching rotation for a long time. It's a weird one, but
I'm not gonna overtly disagree with you in that was impactful. I think Albert Bell was a good pull. I forgot about Albert Bell, which nobody should forget about Albert Bell, but I did. But I think that's a good pull. But when you think of a Wei-Yin Chen signing or Melvin Mora, whomever, that in Orioles history, as an Orioles fan, you've watched the Orioles growing up and you watch them every day. Those are impactful. I agree. But in terms of it being a league shaking signing, those were not. This was Pete Alonso was one of the best hitters in baseball, which we're going to cover that in 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best hitters in baseball, one of the most well-known hitters in baseball, one of the most prolific hitters in baseball. He played in New York, who just ponied up $100 bajillion for Juan Soto. You know that they have the ability to pony up money. I think they were top 3 in payroll. So you would just assume that they're going to pay the guy.
I think they were number 1. I think they're paying the most in
They
luxury
were up
tax.
there for sure. Maybe
Not
we'll
the
look
Dodgers.
that up. So there's that piece of it, is that he didn't go back to the Mets. Now you learn that he was lowballed. They didn't want to go past 3 years for him, which maybe if they think, oh, he's going to be older by then, he's going to be in his mid-30s, he's going to taper off. That's the kind of mindset that the Orioles used to have, where they look at the back end of a contract and say, it might not be worth it then.
You know what triggered that? First off, we forgot probably the most impactful 1-year contract in Orioles history that made the 2014 Orioles so good was Nelson Cruz. And this reminds me so much of the same situation, but we're on the Seattle side, where the Orioles thought that, I think it was like 33, 34-year-old what's his face wasn't gonna keep hitting, and then all of a sudden he goes to Seattle for 4 years, and I think he goes to like the Rays and the Padres and the Nationals and the Twins, and all he does is hit.
Yeah, he hit something like 300 home runs since he left.
Yeah.
After he left Baltimore. Yeah.
So I have to believe Alonso is going to do the same thing here. In a perfect world, they would slowly move him to DH full time, and they somehow keep Kobe Mayo, maybe, or find another platoon bat to play first base that plays a much better first base. But whatever, maybe they'll fix him.
Maybe. But I just think if you really go back and think about all the signings, I do think this might be, at least again in recent memory, because I don't know about Tricky McGee, but in recent Orioles history is the most impactful signing and probably the highest profile signing since Miguel Tejada, because he was an MVP, played on those quote unquote Moneyball A's teams, that Scott Hatterberg made good in the movie, but forget about the rotation and the MVP. Doesn't matter. This is the most impactful that I am aware of. Outbid the Mets. Well, apparently they didn't even give him the offer. Outbid the Red Sox.
This was Oriole. The most important Orioles signing I think they've had over the last 15 plus years.
I agree. And do you want to tell me why? Because I have ideas. Why do you think it's the most important?
I mean, number one, what have we heard for the last 5 years with this Orioles team? They don't have any leadership. It's a broken clubhouse. They're inconsistent. 1 week these guys will hit 1,000 runs, and then the week later they can't even figure out how to even make contact with the baseball. Cows are still trying to figure out, why he was swinging the balls all the way in the dirt, but I digress. But this dude is consistent. He gets on base, and maybe he will, actually talk to some of the young guys saying, hey, that curveball in the dirt, you're never going to hit it. Maybe not look at the first 2 pitches right down the middle. That's a good idea.
Yeah, get coached, which the Jackson Holly had to get from his dad, and not the Orioles hitting coach. But I agree with that. I think it's more than that. I think it's also the downstream effect from a free agency standpoint, in that he was hopefully the first domino to fall in free agency. So a guy like Michael King or a guy like Framber Valdez is going to go, okay, these guys are going to pony up the money. They got Pete Alonso.
Well,
I'm interested.
And I think the other thing is this it's one signing, but it's a big signing, but it's finally no longer, oh, the Orioles were in conversation about Billy Bob and
The Kings of Interest.
Yeah, the Kings of
Yep.
Interest. And after hearing that they offered Schwarber 5 years, 150, we're like, okay, yeah, all right, that's significant money, but obviously they couldn't convince him to come back or come down 95, which once again, I completely understand why he would want to keep staying Philly. Like, they're
I
World
think
Series ready.
they're World Series ready. And also, just think about, what it takes to move. I know he has enough money. He could pay people to move. I don't want to move. So if somebody is going to pay you the same to stay, take it, plus the
And he's
baseball
also,
stuff. But I think it's mostly they didn't
yeah,
want to
and
move.
he's bought all in on like the Philly culture. Like, and I think it's kind of radiated within the rest of the team where like they'll talk about cheesesteaks, they'll wear, Wawa gear, like they're all in on that. That's something that, I don't know if it's Kauser or if it's Gunner, but that's what they need to do down here is just, absorb the Baltimore culture. And then you'll get fans on your side. But
Well,
I digress.
you say fans. That's the other downstream effect, is that for, again, probably we brought up Cruz. Ubaldo was the same offseason, which, a lot of people saw the writing on the walls, like, that guy's not very good. But they spent money. And guess what happened? They were good, not because of Ubaldo, but it put butts in seats, right? The first part of that season, the butts were in the seats because they said they got some new blood and we hope that they're going to be good. And they were building off of a 2012 playoff run, a 2013 decent season. They were knocked out of the playoffs the last week of the year. So just building on that. And right now, the Orioles are building on a 100-win season a couple years ago, had a little bit of a blip last year because of injuries, because of pitching, because the bullpen just disappeared.
No, it was the offense. If we're being honest, if you compare 2020, first off, the pitching was garbage. But if you're comparing what was the biggest thing that was different between 2024 and 2025, it was the fact that Gunner regressed. Adley, dude, I don't know what the heck happened to him. He fell off the face of the earth. Jackson Holiday, he improved, whatever. Mullins regressed even more. Mountcastle, I don't know what's going on with him. Westbrook can't stay healthy. Kauser strikes out 1 billion times. Tyler O'Neill, he hit a home run the first game. That was fun. Love that. That was it. They struck out 1,457 times, and they walked 484 times.
I don't know how that compares to other teams, but that doesn't sound very good, does it?
That's not very good at all.
But I think it's also, yes, the hitting was horrible, but the pitching was hurt. Bradish was hurt. Rogers was hurt, which, of course, at the beginning of the year, we all thought Rogers was a complete dud. Turned out not to be a dud. But even when when teams and players slump, teams with good pitching, they'll win a few of those games because the pitching showed up. It was a full team batting slump on top of horrible pitching, and that basically just buried them at the beginning of the year. Plus, you had that fella Brandon Hyde, who was a platoon. I'm not going to use the word I was thinking of, but he
hyper-focused on platooning.
Hyper-focused. It didn't matter. I don't know if he understood what a reverse split was. He didn't care. It was, there's a righty on the mound, I'll play Jackson Holiday. There's a lefty on the mound, Sorry, he can't play.
I will say,
and I don't think that was necessarily a cause of a slump in terms of it was putting a worse player on the field. It was causing slumps in terms of we are tired of seeing this guy sit 1.1. For those that don't know what I'm referring to, 1.1 means first round, first pick in the MLB draft. 1.1 was sitting for half of the games. Not half,
more
a
than
third
half
of the games. Well, you're not facing that many lefties. But regardless, every time there's a lefty, he's on the bench, which was too many. It was
Jorge
too
Mateo
many times.
What here's I will say I loved what we don't know and we'll never know because the way the Orioles players have been, we'll never know what it was like in the clubhouse with Hyde. I mean, there's been little squeaks that he was very hard on the players and wasn't exactly Mr. Nice Guy, which fine, whatever. But dude wanted to fight every starting pitcher who was an ass to his team. And I'm all about that. And I hope, they keep that attitude where it's, us against the world and kind of, a little hard-nosed shit because that's what they need. I'm tired of Adley trying to be best friends and quoting every, I think you should leave quote out there. Just go out there and play baseball and learn to goddamn throw to second base. God, that drives me nuts.
You seem to have opinions on that guy. But your point earlier is that you think Pete Alonso could be the guy who could drive them away from all that stuff that you seem to not like and just say, we're here to play baseball. Hit the damn ball, right?
So to quickly recap, because right now, so far, the Orioles have gone out. They've gotten an all-star closer who can throw 100 miles per hour. I don't care what his stats say. When you put the Mets, I think there's a big difference between being a closer and a setup man, and I will die on that hill. Two guys so far have moved the needle.
That and the second half Mets are very similar to the first half Orioles, where everybody slumped all at the same time, pitching, hitting, and they just, in a very Mets fashion, collapsed. So it was just kind of, he was just part of the team, and that was the vibe with that team, is that we're all going to be horrible at the same time. So I believe in him. I agree.
So let me throw out some names to you on guys that the Orioles signed, and you can tell me if it moved the needle for you at all. Sagano, 35 years old, from Japan.
Now, when you say move the needle, you mean when they signed him last year?
Yeah, last year.
No, not really.
No, okay. Charlie Morton at 41 years old.
He moved it a little bit because he had some past success, and it was a body in the door. I'm like, okay, that could be interesting.
That was the pitcher that they were going to.
Yeah.
That was the guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
That made me mad.
On to the next.
Okay. So then Andrew Kittredge, 35 years old, reliever.
Nah, not really.
No. Colin Selby from the Royals, relief pitcher.
No, not really.
No, nothing. Really. Okay, let's go to some of the position players.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan Carlson.
No,
nothing.
No.
Here's an interesting one. Ramon Laureano. I didn't know anything about him, and then I looked at his stats. I was like, I mean, they're fine.
So
okay.
I only you probably knew about him. You just forgot. He was the guy on the A's. Who knows how long ago? We're going to call it 8 years ago. I'm going to say that's right. Remember, he was throwing people out from dead center field at third base, home plate. He was like he looked to be the greatest center fielder of all time for like a 3-month stretch. That's how I knew him. So I was like, oh, there's a name I recognize, but needle moving? Not really.
No, but he played well above expected. I mean, I think he had one of the highest WARs on the team, even after they traded him away, and they got a lot of prospects for him.
He was third on the team despite only playing 3/5 of the season on the Orioles.
I'm going to skip one, and you'll understand the one. Gary Sanchez.
No, that made my needle go backwards. I hated that from the beginning. I hated it during the season. I hate it now, even though he's gone. Doesn't matter. That was awful. You're going to say Tyler O'Neill next.
Tyler O'Neill. Yep.
He had big arms, and those excited me. And people can take that sentence and do whatever they want with it. I don't care. His big arms made me excited. But he was hurt. He hit a home run on opening day, and then he was hurt. And then when he wasn't hurt, he was awful. So
he just dove all the time and for no reason. And he'd get hurt. And it's like, dude, God. But yeah, so I think Charlie Morton was like 15 mil. I think Gary Sanchez was 8. They threw like that's what I think. If you give a toddler money, they pick names and they just pick
right.
people.
And that's why.
Oh, Kyle Gibson.
But that was mid-season, right?
That was kind of
we need help because everybody's hurt. And I thought he was going to help, and he did not. Probably opposite of helped. He hurt. No good. But that offseason last year, following a 100-win season, is why everybody spent all of last year wanting Mike Elias out. And I was one of them because we just went through it. They did nothing of consequence.
Here's my pushback. So last year, you had the sale of the Orioles, which I think that was back in like November. No, it may have been even later than that. So the Orioles already had a budget. Michael Elias had a budget, and we all know Peter Angelos loved to spend money. His son did not because he was trying to move the team to Nashville. And then when they said no, he had to tell his girlfriend, "Oh, sorry. Well, I don't have a real job, so I guess I'll just sell the team and make money that way." So I give him a little bit of a break because I don't think they really had an established budget. This year, it sounds like Rubenstein I'm 75 years old. I want to bring a World Series to Baltimore. Boom. And if you look at the Dodgers, you make a boatload of money if you just win. It's a really easy concept. You make all that money back.
You got to spend money to make money, they say. As they say. So, I think we're all on the same page.
So let's look forward.
Yeah, looking forward. Next things they need to do is go and find at least one starting pitcher, whether that's the Valdez fella, the King fella, or with a trade. There's people talking about this Mackenzie Gore guy. That's a very small.
He's just a lefty that throws.
Yeah, I can. That's not really what I'm looking for. But get a pitcher. Basically, get Cade Povich out of the starting rotation, and that's a win right there. Get Brandon Young out of the starting rotation, even though he almost threw a perfect game. Doesn't matter. That was just the one time. Get him out of the rotation. Get a solid
is a closer. I would put
we're going to get to that. Yep. So I did do a little peek at the 40-man. And
the 40-man or the depth chart?
The 40-man. The current 40-man. And I looked first at, by the way, Pete Alonso is on there, so it is officially official. I know it was already official,
today.
But there he is. Today. But if I'm looking at this, so just running down, Aiken, awful. Kick him out. Bautista, hurt. Cano, balls, awful. Get him out. Ends.
I like Ends. I like Ends. I know he's old, but God, he was born in 91, Pat. We can't say he's old.
I know.
He's rounding his corner. He's still in his prime. He's never going to die.
Yeah.
He pitched fairly well for the Orioles last year. I like his arm a lot better than Aiken.
Aiken being the closer as many times as he was last year was absolutely mind-boggling. But I'm going to keep going. I'm going to skip a couple of these guys. Rico Garcia, I believe, re-signed a little bit. Good. Ryan Helsley, new guy. Ryan Helsley, new guy on campus. Closer.
He's got to shave that mustache.
I'm good for him. Andrew Kittredge is back. Whatever. Indifferent. Cade Stroud. I like him.
You're skipping Chase McDermott, who thinks he's a closer.
I skipped him. I skipped him. Cade Stroud. Okay. I like him. Tyler Wells. I like him.
He's a setup
Grant
man.
Wolfram. Cheeks. Awful. Get him out. Chase McDermott. So if I'm looking at this, and I skipped over starters. I
cannot find the strikes zone to save his life. I'd get him off the team.
Yeah. So that's why I skipped him, Josh, but you made me go back. So
okay. All right.
That's not a bad start. Those guys that I named that I didn't say were balls, cheeks, and butt. That's a good start. I think there's ways that you can fill in the rest by way of getting the starters. Because when you look at those people that I listed, those are short inning guys. Kittredge is short inning. Helsley's the closer. Cade Stroud's short inning guy. So if you can get some starters in here and knock out Cade Povich, lefty, long relief, Brandon Young, righty, long relief. He throws hard, so maybe you can get him into short inning situations.
I think he'd be good. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah. Good arm. That's not bad. So I'm slightly optimistic only if, optimistic about the pitching, I should say, only if they follow through on getting minimum one starter. 2 is still needed. They still need to. You need to get Dean Kramer, whatever you say, to the 5. He can't be the 3.
No. Yeah, right now you got Bradish as your 1, Trevor Rogers as your 1A, but Bradish has to be your opening day starter. I don't care how good Rogers was.
No, I agree. Even if you get Framber Valdez or somebody like that, Bradish's number is the opening day.
Yeah. Doesn't even matter. I don't think anybody really cares about it except for the fans, but still. Dean Kramer, he's got your 5, but yeah, they need to. I mean, the good news is for the Orioles, which we say, oh yeah, they have so much depth, but they have 3 right-handed first basemen. Mountcastle's got 1 year left on his contract. Kobe Mayo has 4 years.
Yeah, Kobe Mayo's got a while.
Yeah, and he's improving rapidly at first base. And then you got Sammy Basallo, who just signed up a long-term extension. So he's not going anywhere, and he's not going to be playing catcher every day. So he's going to be a first base or DH. So you got to flip Mayo or you got to flip Mountcastle or Mayo. And that can be your bullpen arm. That can be part of a package to get a starter.
I think Mayo is definitely a guy that if you can do it, keep him on the roster to start, get him at bats. And if it becomes we're going to buy at the deadline, you dangle him with all his years of control and his upside and say, if you're going to go for it, here's a guy that we can trade and let's go for it. If the Tigers don't get rid of Screwball, however you pronounce it, they don't get rid of him in this offseason, but they're sellers at the deadline. I'm dangling Kobe Mayo at the Tigers and say, look how far this guy can hit the ball. Look how far he can hit the ball. That's what I'm looking for.
I just don't see there being enough at bats. I mean, you got to get rid of Mountcastle. So maybe
you keep him healthy. You get him some at bats so you can keep him healthy. You slide him in at DH every now and then.
I get it. I mean, if you're looking at, because you got Kobe Mayo, and then you got a pretty crowded outfield with Cowser, Beavers, Ward, and O'Neill. And when they signed Tucker, I mean, that's another opening, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. So I mean, let's look at that. The outfield. Okay, I will die on this hill at least until I am wrong. Dylan Beavers needs to play almost every day.
100%.
Until he turns out to be cheeks, but whatever. That man needs to play every day. And I've seen people, well, his defense. I don't care. The man hits the ball. He gets on base in a limited number of at-bats. Sure. Man hits the damn ball. And that's what the Orioles need, are people to hit the damn ball. Colton Cowser, I don't care what happens to him. I am tired of him. He had a like a 3-week little thing there where everybody was wearing cow suits and mooing and whatever. And then he fell off the face of the earth. He swung at ball 4 and broke his hand in the playoffs. I will never forgive him for that. I'm indifferent from him. I would think I would rather have Enrique Bradfield, whatever. That's Colton Cowser. Kerstad is on the 40-man. Get rid of him. Trade him. I don't care.
Let's just say, if they're being very quiet about him, I think there's something else going on. So I know nothing, but I think his career as a baseball player might be done. The fact that nobody's talked about it.
Maybe, yeah. Well, there's something else going on with Chris Davis too, and he sucked too. At the end, this is not an anti-Chris Davis podcast. I will die for Chris Davis, but I'm just saying, at the end, we knew it was mental, which I feel bad. But get out, right? You're terrible. Tyler O'Neill, I signed him to a 1-day contract for opening day. He can hit his 8th opening day home run for the year, and then get rid of him. I don't care how much he plays. He should get the Quentin Berry treatment and just sit on the bench in his little sweatshirt and watch. I don't know who Will Robertson is. So I'm going to skip him. Leody Taveras, they signed, which a couple months ago when they signed him, he was the guy from the Rangers. He hit a home run against the Orioles in the playoffs. I was jokingly, but also not jokingly, saying that that's going to be the Orioles' big acquisition, was him, based on the previous offseason. I was wrong. I'll eat that. That's fine. Whatever. I don't know who Reed Trimble is, so I'm going to move on from him. And then you've got Taylor Ward. So looking at this lineup, it is stacked without even in the outfield, without even mentioning what could be coming in the infield, with Taylor Ward, who's hit 38 home runs last year. Dylan Beavers, who I think can be a 20 to 25 homer guy. He's going to get on base. On base. And then, I said stacked, but I've still got Colton Cowser out there. So because I said stacked, I'm going to retract what I said earlier and say I believe in him only because I've contradicted myself in the last 5 minutes.
My biggest problem with Colton Cowser, 2023, 28.6% strikeout percentage. 2024, 30.7%. 2025, 35.6%. Dude, I don't care. Just swing at the first pitch. And if you pop up, who cares? But
then they'll start throwing the dirt and he'll swing at those two.
Yeah, that's it. Well, they'll figure it out. The last several years, and we know the biggest issue the Orioles have had was hitting against lefties. I mean, they were soft tossing lefties that would throw 85 miles per hour, and the Orioles would lose every single time, and they would have a complete game. But now you got Polar Bear Pete, right-hander. You got Taylor Ward, right-hander.
Yep.
Tyler O'Neill for a couple weeks, off and on for the year. That should solidify a very solid right-handed hitting. And plus, you got a billion first baseman that can hit. Adley switch. Basalo is a lefty. I thought he was a switch hitter, but I guess not. I was wrong. Jackson Holiday, lefty. Whenever you get on base, you don't have to steal. Okay. Jordan Westbrook for a couple weeks, righty. Oh, I forgot about him. And Jeremiah Jackson, the GOAT in the towards the end of the year last year.
Yep.
It's a very balanced lineup. I still would wish. I don't know. I mean, I like Tucker, but maybe it's one of those things where they just spend a couple more dollars on starting pitching or pitching overall, and they just ride with the outfitters they have now.
No, I agree. That, like I said, the outfield is good, barring Colton Cowser, as it stands. And that's also assuming Tyler O'Neill does not become the everyday player over Beavers. I don't think he will.
Here's the other problem that I have. What did Taylor Ward do last year from games perspective? Because this is the biggest issue that the Orioles had last. Okay, he played 157 games, so he's consistent. He played 156 in 2024. But Colin Cowser hasn't played a full season because he always gets hurt. I swear it's always his hands. But Tyler O'Neill, you can't rely on him playing more than 60 games a year, maybe. So they really need to have 4 outfielders. And I guess they do right now. Beavers, Ward.
Well, some of these guys that I've never heard of. Maybe Will Robertson's the guy. They don't have numbers next to their names though on the roster. So I don't really believe in them. So maybe you're right. Maybe depending on Kierstad's status, maybe he shows up. But like you're saying,
I think he's gone.
He might be gone.
So over.
They've thrown Kobe Mayo in the outfield before.
We got Jeremiah Jackson.
They've got Jeremiah Jackson. They've thrown Mountcastle in the outfield before. I'm not a big fan of first baseman playing the outfield. I feel like the Orioles have done that for way too long, too much. But if we're looking for depth, that might be where the outfield depth is. But we're kind of burying the lead here on this lineup. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and you're going to tell me what you think the answer is. If you I want you to include Pete Alonso in this, okay? In your thoughts.
Okay.
If Pete Alonso was on the 2025 Orioles, that's how I want you to think about it. Who led among players who got a significant amount of time? So I'm not counting Jeremiah Jackson. I'm not counting Dylan Beavers, those guys. Just the everyday guys. Who led the team in batting average? If you include Pete Alonso.
Well, it's got to be Pete Alonso. I know this is a trick question. Nice try.
That's not a trick question. It's Gunnar Henderson. Okay, I'm going to the next one. If you look at the team last year and include Pete Alonso, who led the team in on-base percentage among the everyday players?
It's got to be Gunnar.
It's Gunnar Henderson.
Hell yeah.
If you look at slugging percentage among everyday players, who led the team in slugging percentage?
Can't be Gunnar. He had a really bad power year. So it's got to be Sammy. I'm going to go Sammy.
No. Sammy did not really have that good of a year when we look at it.
Yeah,
but again, it was only 30 games or whatever. It's Jordan Westburg.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, you could make the argument that he only played half the season because he was hurt, but I consider him an everyday player. Jordan Westburg. Well, let me back up. After Ryan O'Hearn got traded. And Laureano. But they don't count.
I didn't count that.
They left. It's Jordan Westburg. And then if you go to OPS, who led the team in OPS with Pete Alonso included?
That's got to be Pete.
It's Pete Alonso. And I realize now that I've said that, I was wrong about Jordan Westburg. It was Pete Alonso who led it in slugging, but Jordan Westburg outdid
Damn liar.
So all of that to say, you've got Gunnar Henderson was a freaking force last year on the team. And you've added Pete Alonso to that. Plus, God, please, if Jordan Westburg is healthy, that's another very solid bat. You would have to hope that Jackson Holiday progresses. Please, just progress.
Just don't get thrown out a billion
just a
times.
little bit. You're 1.1. Act like 1.1. And then your other 1.1, Adley Rutschman, had a horrible year. So all you have to hope is that those guys that slumped all year effectively take a step forward. Westburg is Westburg. Gunnar is Gunnar. Alonso is Alonso. Taylor Ward is Taylor Ward, and that is a freaking lineup. That's not even including Basayo. And let me say something, Josh. You said Basalo about 3 times. I just want to address that. It's Basayo because he's Hispanic. Yes, Basayo or Basayo. If I think you're from Spain. But that is quite the lineup.
And you know what that happened with the Yankees a couple years ago when they got Soto, and then when Soto came over to the Mets, the same thing happened. When you put real bats together, I mean, besides Aaron Judge is a freaking nature, and I will die on this hill. He is one of the 2 most talented players we will see in this generation. I mean, I'm glad he won MVP last year because he would have shattered 1 billion records if he stayed healthy all year. But anyways, if you look at when you put a legit bat in a lineup, and you only need one, and the Orioles right now have brought in 2, the guys around them that are borderline very good players, or Gunnar Henderson, pitchers have to decide who to pitch to. And now it's not like, okay, well, I'll pitch to Jackson Holiday, and then I'll pitch around Gunnar, and then I'll pitch to Adley, and then I'll just throw the ball in the ground and Colton will strike out. Now they got to figure out, okay, do I pitch to Jordan Westberg? Do I pitch to Gunnar? I can't walk all 3 guys to get to, Taylor Ward. It becomes a big problem. And that's when you start seeing guys' stats shoot through the roof, which if I'm the Orioles, I'm finding Gunnar at his house. And look, I don't care how much it costs. Get the whole police in Mississippi or Alabama, wherever the hell he lives. You can't leave that house until you sign a 12-year contract.
Yeah, that was another, what I said earlier, where it was kind of I don't remember the wording I used specifically, but a down the line effect of signing Pete Alonso is now Scott Boras is saying, oh, they're going to pony up some years and money for a 30-year-old. How about Gunnar Henderson, the 24-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
Now, then the other question, our question people would have for years would be, well, why would a guy like Gunnar Henderson stay? Why would a guy like Manny Machado stay? Why would a guy like whomever stay if they don't lock up their own people? Well, guess what? They just spent a whole bunch of money. Maybe they're willing to lock up their people.
And the big thing is they're willing to spend money to win, which is something that they haven't been able to say since they've signed all those relief pitchers in like 2006. And they had a really good first half of the year, and then they fell apart second half. But no, I mean, we all know Westberg, Gunnar, Adley have all probably talked to each other. They've all gotten some kind of contract offer by the Orioles, and they're probably all having the same conversation. Like, well, I mean, I could just be a free agent, and I know that I could go to like the Mets or the Padres or the Yankees, and every year they're going to try to throw money and then draft well and trade prospects to be, win now or get close to winning.
Yeah.
So it's a big culture change, which look,
it is.
We're putting a lot of stock on Pete Alonso, but I don't think, the local Marylanders know, but nationally, I don't think many people know how big of a deal it is.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I think they do. And I think that's why it's such a big deal. But with that said, hopefully more to come because they need pitching.
One question for you.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So you have unlimited money. You have whatever prospects you want. All right. But you only have 2 moves left before the start of spring training. What are the 2 moves you make?
I'm moving hell and high water to get 2 starting pitchers.
Who are those starting pitchers?
I expressed earlier to you that Michael King is one of them. I think I'm going to take between Ranger Suarez and Framber Valdez. I think I'm taking Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez and Michael King is what I want. Back up the Brinks truck. Get those two guys here. Get Cade Povich and Brandon Young out of the rotation. Put Dean Kramer as the 5. And the train's leaving the station, baby. That's it.
Here's my biggest concern. I look at Ranger Suarez's stats and I love them so much. But there's something about his fastball only being around 91 miles per hour that makes me nervous.
So you're taking Valdez?
Well, I think, number one, I go out of my way and I get Zach Eflin 2.0, a.k.a. Michael King, who has a couple mile per hours. He can get up to 95, and that makes me happy. And he seems like he's a pretty good innings eater. He's a number 3 guy. The next thing I'm doing is I'm packaging a trade, and I'm going to get a top end starter. If it's the guy from the Marlins, if maybe you kick the tires on, call the Tigers and see what they want, and then you back it up saying, okay, we'll trade for him, but he better sign a $300 million contract with us because they need a lefty.
Yeah.
So whatever they do, they need a lefty.
They need a lefty. So,
especially, yeah. Okay.
Hopefully, more to come. It seems like they're primed to make another move, hopefully within the next. Well, I guess it doesn't have to be within the next few days. The winter meetings, are they over?
They're over. Jordan Montgomery is a free agent.
No thanks. No thanks.
Or John Means.
So the winter meetings are over, but that doesn't mean signing stop. So hopefully they can build off some conversations they had. And again, the Orioles need at least one starting pitcher to be added to this team. And a top quality one. They've added starting pitchers before. A top quality, top of the rotation starting pitcher.
That's not 45 years old.
That's not 45 years old. Exactly. And we'll see. All right.
So, because we have to talk about it before we wrap it up. So okay. Season's over. In my opinion. I mean, well, not even if they make the playoffs, they're not going to win a game because they're just. Lamar Jackson is clearly frustrated. He gets hit a billion times. But I don't know. Maybe they have a chance. Maybe they fully.
I don't think, if anybody didn't pick up, we're talking about the Ravens now for those who want to skip the Orioles part and listen to the Ravens part.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens season is over. I think the writing is on the wall because if you look at the games remaining, there's only 4. And to make the playoffs, barring a Steelers collapse, they have to win out. And that is not even including, you mentioned it last week, the Bengals. Now, the Bengals lost last week, so that I think that knocks them out. But it's always in the back of your mind that if both the Ravens and the Steelers lose a bunch of games, they play each other obviously one more time. But I don't think the Bengals are going to backdoor this. So their next 4 games are at Cincinnati. I cannot foresee a situation in which that is a win.
Nope.
Then they got the Patriots at home. Patriots have had a pretty easy schedule, but
the classic Patriot schedule.
They've beaten the Bills once. They're playing them again this weekend. I think the Bills are going to beat them. I don't believe in the Patriots. I'm going to say that. I don't believe in the Patriots. But I don't believe in the Ravens more. So I think that's another loss, right? Unless they magically figure out how to tackle a quarterback Drake May is going to
Protect the
rip them to
quarterback.
shreds. Yeah, but you can't win games if a professional quarterback on the other side of you is just dancing around, twirling, and throwing to whomever he wants because you can't get to him. So
Ozzie Newsome said since day one, to have a winning team, you need to be strong on the line on both sides. And I
football
can't
is won
think,
in the trenches.
yeah,
Yep.
I can't think of one good defensive line player. Matabike was good for a couple weeks, and then nobody will talk about what happened to his neck. I still want to know what happened. And then offensive line,
It's horrible. Like I said to you earlier today, I didn't think I would ever see a lineman worse than Gino Gradkowski, who, for those who don't know, was the center on the 2013 Ravens. I don't think he ever blocked anybody. And the Ravens' right guard right now, Falele,
6'9".
6'9", this greatest guy out of Minnesota who's ever existed. He can't block anybody. He blocks air. It's like when I was coaching JV basketball and they were setting screens on Casper the Ghost. That's what he's blocking. He's blocking nobody every week.
There's a video of just him like, where are your arms at all? Like, just I don't.
He's slow.
Huh?
All he has is size, but he does not seem to know what he's doing. So, like you said, you can't win if you can't protect your own quarterback. You also can't win if you can't get to the other quarterback. They're doing neither, and therefore they're not winning games. Because then guess what? They go to Green Bay for Sunday Night Football. No, they're not going to win that game. Micah Parsons is on the other side. Like, they might as well sit Lamar for that game. Depending on how the next 2 weeks go, sit Lamar Jackson, save him from Micah Parsons. And then they go to Pittsburgh. And just based on what we just saw, I mean, I don't know if you saw that TJ Watt's in the hospital. I think he'll be back. I think it sounds like he had the Tyrod Taylor, needle punctured by a lung, punctured by a needle. But we saw what happened against the Steelers. They couldn't get to a 97-year-old quarterback. And that quarterback happens to be good. So he made good throws. And they win the game. We can talk all we want about blown calls, but good teams overcome blown calls. So,
and cornerbacks can't cover a guy for a wide receiver for 8 seconds. So, or not even 6 seconds. So, if you can't get to the quarterback, then wide receivers are eventually going to get open.
I've always said cornerback. Let me preface this with, I have never played a single snap of any level of football other than the ones that had flags on your waist. I don't even count that because I think I broke my finger throwing an interception doing that in college one time.
That's about right.
So,
brand for you.
Well, the kid had pockets. You weren't supposed to have pockets. That was illegal. I should have reported him, but I didn't. I've always said the most difficult position to play in the NFL is cornerback, not just because you're going up against the best athletes on the other side of the ball, but because of how against you the rules are. So if you're not getting to the quarterback in the trenches, you're just putting your cornerbacks in bad positions. And, you can't ball watch because then the wide receiver is going to run away. And then you're keeping your eyes on the wide receiver. And then you get called for interference and it's a 40-yard penalty. Another very dumb rule in the NFL. If you can't do anything to the quarterback on the other side of the ball, you can't win a game. I think the Ravens season is over. You said it at the beginning. And it's a shame because the Chiefs are probably going to miss the playoffs. So you're just going to let Bills or the Patriots win this Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl?
Just go to the Super Bowl. I mean, of all the seasons, this is probably the worst AFC has been in a very long time. I mean, Broncos, I don't think they're that good.
I don't believe in them.
Patriots, I don't think they're good. Jacksonville, no.
I think
Steelers, no.
No, yeah, Jacksonville. No, the Jaguars are they shouldn't be a franchise. I think the jury's out on the Patriots. I think they've had a very easy schedule, but again, they beat the Bills, and I do think Drake May is good, and they've got a good coach. So I am giving them more leeway than I'm giving the Broncos because I don't think Bo Nix is good. He's all right. He's all right.
Like Trent Dilfer with legs.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far because I watched highlights of Trent Dilfer play football recently, and
they got a really good defense.
Jury's out on the Broncos, but I don't think they're that good. I don't like Sean Payton. That's a whole other thing. But I guess he's a good coach. He's won before. Again, don't believe in the Broncos. I don't believe in the Texans. I half believe in the Bills only because of Josh Allen and James Cook.
No, just James Cook. Anytime James Cook runs for over 100 yards, they win the game. That's all I need. And then the Colts now have...
The Colts are done. Their Phillip Rivers is not going to save them. It's over. So I don't even know what else we need to say about the Ravens. It's a shame. It's a shame.
It's a shame, but I also think it's one of those things where it's a good reset. Fire Harbaugh, get a high draft pick, move up higher and get a real defensive end. You have a lot of cap space next year. Go get guys to protect Lamar. I don't care if it's Lamar and the most expensive defensive and offensive line, and they have Zay Flowers out there as the only wide receiver. I don't care. But keep Lamar healthy. He's clearly not healthy whatsoever, and we'll hear probably in the offseason, oh yeah, he was playing with a broken hammer toe bone in his feet and had to get surgery, blah blah blah. We're gonna hear all that. Reset, fire Harbaugh. He sucks. Go get a real coach. Go get the guy from the Chargers offensive coordinator and not make the same mistake you did letting McDonald go. Very easy.
Yep.
Very
easy. That's it. Yeah. Get some guys in the trenches and don't waste Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. And we'll see you next year. We pledged last week. We were punting this year, and
2025 is the year for Maryland sports. 26 year for Maryland sports.
That's the year. Okay, so some listener feedback of those who did listen was we should do something to wrap it up. You had your idea of Gen Z word of the day. I hate that idea. I don't want to do it anymore.
I have one.
Okay.
To wrap it up.
Okay.
So this is my hot take that I thought about earlier today.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to do, at the end of every episode, we'll do our hot take of the day.
So
how about that?
My hot take is sports in college is getting out of control. When you put private equity into college sports, it's over. So I want, and I also think it's really stupid how like LSU has all this money to spend on football, but then like the kids there can't read and the libraries are just missing everything. I mean, the fact that Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana all are really good at football in college, but then, they're all dumb as rocks. So if it was up to me, my hot take is every year, each state selects a college and they do some kind of literacy test. It's a standardized test, and the highest scores get like $100 million in NIL money for the following year. And the lowest get nothing. Bottom 10, you get nothing. So then like the University of Maryland, who have a bunch of nerds, will get a bunch of NIL money. And then the bozos in Louisiana that just have oil money get nothing. Little competitive balance. That's my hot take.
I like that. It started off as not a hot take where you said that college sports are getting out of control. I think most people would agree. And for those who don't know what he's referring to, the University of Utah is getting working on a deal with a private equity fund.
300 mil.
300 mil, which, hey, you should lose any type of tax exempt status that you may have as that university if you're going to become a private equity university.
I agree.
My hot take is that conference championships have to matter. And Duke University should be in the college football playoff.
Very brave of you.
Because if you are going to use as an entity of the NCAA the term Power Four and not let your conference champion in, not only not let your conference champion in, not let the other conference championship team in Virginia, who was 10-2, you're going to let Miami in because they beat Notre Dame in August. That is bullshit, and it is completely watering down. I don't know if that's the right term, but it's just, it needs an overhaul.
There's no incentive.
Just make it the SEC versus the Big Ten tournament and throw in all the schools you want to be in there because they make you the most money. Throw in Miami. Oh, yeah, screw it. Just throw USC in there every now and then because they were good in the early 2000s. Who cares?
There's no incentive to go to a championship.
There's no
10-2 because you could lose to a team that is 8-4.
Exactly.
I would say that, but it's probably going to be another 5 years for them to get their act together.
Yes, but to wrap it up, my hot take, and it pains me, is that Duke University should be in the college football playoff. Otherwise, you can't use the term Power Four ever again.
Love it.
All right. Well, that's that. Until next time, what do you got? Maybe one more
Maybe
India?
One. We'll see.
Before you zip out of here, and then I got to figure out what to do. I will say, I almost recorded on my own my college football playoff hot take as like a standalone thing. That's too much work, so I didn't do that. But all right, well, I'll catch you next time. And then for those listening, thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time. All right.
Okay. Good night.
See
Love you. Okay.